got our best sides.
Okay, so just before we continue on with item 3.2, we just need to go back to item 3.1 and just, there was one element of the resolution that was missed off, and that was the request for, to refer, Boom Charters. They had a late application that came in last year and for operating out of Hahei Beach. And that was to defer that to the upcoming workshop for consideration. And a final resolution to be passed at our next meeting. So that's the full set of resolutions. We just added that last item.
Okay.
Did we actually move them and pass them?
No, we're going to do it.
Yeah, we're going to do that.
Good.
Did you have a comment, Murray?
Well, do we have to recommend to council that the Boom Charters application? We can just refer it to workshop, can't we? Doesn't have to, that's got to go through council. We can just refer it to workshop, can't we?
Yeah, that part doesn't need to be approved by council.
Yeah.
No. Can I move it?
Yes. Moved by Deli, seconded by Jeremy. All those in favour? Opposed? None? Carried. Fantastic. So now we're on to item 3.2, which is the TCDC Sport and Active Recreation Plan. Can I please have a mover and a seconder to receive the report?
I'll move.
Thank you, Bill. Seconded by Deli. Thank you. And I believe Derek is going to talk to us about this.
Thank you, Chair. By way of introduction, the Sport and Recreation Plan sits beneath the Sport Waikato Regional Facilities Plan. It's been prepared by Sport Waikato in conjunction with ourselves, and I'd like to welcome Kate Creswell, Planning and Insights Advisor, and Bill Cooksley, who's the Thames-Coromandel District Council Coordinator for Sport Waikato. Both of those people were instrumental in the planning for the plan. So in regards to, we did a process whereby we invited our communities to participate and come forward. We got a fairly high uptake. We got over 70% uptake in terms of clubs out there. So we invited all known clubs. For our networks, we asked for additional people to come forward, and you'd be pleased to know that Mercury Bay had the highest number of respondents.
Well done,
we had 39 respondents in Mercury Bay out of 70 odd or so. So that's over 50% or around about 50%. So very well done for the community there. So what we look at is we're looking at our communities and we prioritise projects according to a criteria, and that's supplied in the appendices of the plan. The role of the plan is to provide recommendations around which projects should be prioritised by council and also community groups. I'd also like to note that through the recommendations we refer to investigation and monitoring of projects. And some of those monitoring processes are not council's role, they're actually Sport Waikato's, they're a partner in the plan. The plan's also helping us to determine where people are actually recreating, what are the trends, what are the growing trends, what are the declining trends, who are actually participating. It's not only a useful tool for us, but it's a useful tool for the clubs as well. For instance, it's been a well-known national trend and an international trend that organised sport is declining, and we can see that potentially in the plan as well, whereas unorganised recreation is actually on the rise, and you probably would have seen that in your communities regarding the in the COVID situation, where a lot more people are actually out there walking and cycling and being active. So that's a rough synopsis of the plan. It's a pretty hefty one. I'd also like to note that even though it does say draft, there are a number of errors in there that we have noted already, and if you have noted some yourself, then they can be sent through to Bill at Sport Waikato, and he can provide the email can be provided by Jen for the members to be able to send that through. So that's a rough synopsis. Bill and Kate, would you like to add anything else to what I've had to say there?
Tēnā koutou board, thank you for the opportunity through the chair. Just any, I think that's a pretty good summary, Derek. I think the key point is just to note that it is, we talk about investigation and monitoring, and they're not fully formed projects as such with a budget and scope yet. So it provides a guide and recommendation as to what should be looked at through a pretty extensive consultation process with community groups. And that's not just formal clubs either, it's a lot of your informal recreation providers also. So yeah, I think it was a pretty good summary, Derek.
Thank you. So, Chair, are there any questions?
Yeah, okay, go.
Derek, it's Tony here. The sub-regional poll, now, I've read this stuff, but when I go through each of the areas, this thing crops up. And I'd like to know what is it we're doing. I am very clear in my mind that a sub-regional pool to potentially replace the Thames pool is dependent on external funding. And on the eastern seaboard, there is no appetite to rate for this. And our own advice provided to council did tell us that swimming pools are supported by people who live within a 50-kilometre radius. So what we don't, reading it, I just need to be very clear in my mind that we're not committing, in our case, Mercury Bay, to a potential rate for the sub-regional aquatic facility, because when I look at Whangamata's stuff, our stuff, Coromandel stuff, Thames stuff, this is on all of them. And I want to make very, very clear in my mind that it's not a roundabout way of having this community locked into something which we may well not want to contribute to.
No, I don't believe that this is a commitment to the ratepayers of Mercury Bay to contribute to any facility anywhere else in the district, be it a sub-regional pool or whatever. This is a process to help identify what the community actually wants and what they're actually recreating in. It is a useful tool, Tony. The council will be able to help or utilise this tool for potentially external fundraising itself, as will any other club that is actually mentioned in this plan. It is a good avenue for council to be able to say that we've got this plan, this is what our community is doing, and it sits right alongside and well, dovetails in with the regional facilities plan. So the two mission together allow us to actually seek external funding. In terms of the internal funding question, I don't believe that captures in any way a commitment for Mercury Bay to contribute to that.
Okay, thanks.
Good point, Tony. That was my point exactly as well. Were there any other questions of the room?
So through the chair, basically what we're doing is receiving this and recommending that we adopt it as a resource, which will inform further decisions, but it doesn't commit anybody to anything. Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's correct. I should point out as well, one thing that I didn't, it's got a lifespan. So it's got a 3-year lifespan where it is reviewed every 3 years, just like the regional sports facilities plan. And it aligns with that for a very distinct purpose. So it's able to be revisited, like I say, in 2 to 3 years' time when we replan this.
Okay, thank you. Any other? No? All right, Derek and Bill and Kate, thank you very much. Thank you for dialing in. Thanks for your efforts in putting together this document.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're aboard.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, and so we just need to, sorry, pick up the final recommendation here, resolution here, which is recommend to council that the TCDC Sport and Active Recreational Plan, is there something missing there? Adopt.
Draft plan, is it?
But draft?
Hasn't got draft.
It's got draft written all over it, but
Yes.
all those in favour?
Aye.
Opposed?
Oh, did we move it?
We received it.
We received it. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Okay. Opposed? None. Carried. All right. Excellent, which takes us to 4.1. Is it? You've got to dial in.
I know she's.
She's just here. All right, which is the draft Thames-Coromandel District Council Open Space and Communities Facilities Strategy. Good morning, Lisa.
Board. Good morning, kia ora, everyone.
Welcome.
Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Just before you kick off, Leslie, can I just have someone to receive the report?
I'll move to receive this report.
Thank you. That's Murray and Tony.
I will take it that the report has been read and the attachment. Just a few comments about it. We're looking for feedback from all community boards. This one's the last one on our list. So quite keen to get your feedback, which I will incorporate into any changes that I make to the strategy before we report back to council, hopefully on the 23rd of June, looking for approval to go out to public consultation. So the draft strategy is basically, it sets a direction for council to manage its open spaces and community facilities in a more consistent, effective, efficient way. So we're looking for to see a consistent approach across the whole of the district. And as the strategy sets out, we've got some key goals around doing that and around building and maintaining partnerships with various organizations who we already partner with, people like the Ministry of Education, just continuing to build on those relationships so that we can address some of the challenges for our open spaces and community facilities, which are around the age and the condition of the buildings and some of the sporting venues, and about addressing seasonal peak demand, and about the affordability of repurposing some of those open spaces and community facilities to meet those changing needs. And we've also got some challenges around natural hazards risks. So we really want to adopt a more consistent, efficient way of managing our resources.
Okay. Any comments? So Tony?
So we've been having a discussion in regard to concessions,
Yes.
and indeed reserve management plans. And this document, I think, is what precedes both of those things, because we identify the mechanisms for council to assess the current future recreational, social, and open spaces, reserves and community facilities. So it seems this is a place to determine what is it that can happen on each reserve and the sort of people can go there, and indeed, what is the cost to do that, if any? So it seems to me this is the first bit of work to get put into place. Then for us to understand the reserve management plans, and then with the activities that happen on them. So I don't know, Leslie, is that how you see it? Honestly, because this has come at the end of a prior discussion, but I see this as the start point.
I think you're probably right, Councillor Fox, and it's just the way things have happened and played out, that this strategy has sort of come in behind that review of the reserve management plans that has been underway, and it's sort of overtaken it in a way because of some of the delays to do with the reviews of the reserve management plans. So this document is sort of, I see it as council's in-house kind of approach to managing the things that it has responsibility for. The reserve management plans are about managing the reserves under the Reserves Act, and we've got responsibilities under the Reserves Act to manage those reserves. So that's how these documents relate to one another. This document kind of answers the questions about, do we have enough of a certain type of reserve, and how are we going to manage the reserves that we do have consistently. But the reserves management plan comes down to a more detailed look at each reserve.
It just seems to me that the first thing is to agree the strategy.
Yes.
That seems to be the start point. That's the bit we haven't done. So for me, before we do anything, we need to get the strategy in place, then go to the reserve management plan, and once we've done that, then go to the concessions, and not the other way around. So that's just my tuppence worth for what it's worth.
Murray.
Yeah, Murray here. Just one strategy. And I look at harbour facilities. First sentence, council maintain a strategic approach. I think in all the years, 15 or 18 years I've been on this board, I don't think we've ever had a strategic approach. So I'd actually like to see something put in there that we do get a strategic approach, because we made a number of efforts to try to get a strategic approach from this board over the last decade and nothing's happened. You know, I do think it's something we can elaborate a little bit further on.
Yes, and I think in the back of the document there are a series of actions, and I think that's where you'll get that detail about getting some a decent management approach going to some of these facilities. And so that's in the action plan.
I just noticed Harvest has got no actions, and that's what I say. I think we need some actions.
Okay, I think that they might come under the umbrella of community facilities, but I'm happy to see if we can make that more explicit in the document.
Any comments, any questions from down this end? No. All right, excellent. Thank you, Leslie. So with those comments being picked up, I guess we just need to provide some, right? So we've given staff the comment. All those in favour?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Okay, fantastic. Carried. Thanks, Leslie.
Thank you. Before I leave, I'll say if anybody has an additional thought or two they'd like to give me, I'll put my email address into the chat trail for this meeting, and I'm happy to receive any comments in writing or give me a phone call.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, so our next item is 5.1, which is the shoreline management plans. Is Amon, he's on the line?
It's on the line.
Fantastic.
And I'll just confirm. There. Amon, are you there? I received feedback even that he was.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, no response. That's okay. I'm going to try a new thing here.
All right, okay, sorry. Well, while Gina's doing that, can I please have someone to receive the report?
I will.
Thank you, Delly. Tony, fantastic. I'll just make a note of that.
My backup. Amon was there, so he must have stepped away. Well, that's a bit distracting if we want to.
I'd like to speak to the person.
Yeah, if you want to talk to it.
So really this will be to go back to Amon probably, but this project will be critical because we know when we went out with it, particularly here in Mercury Bay, it met with an awful lot of ire and negative comment. Now that was about the fact we've been out talking about shoreline management for 10 years, and we've had all these focus groups, and we've gone and visited individual people outside their houses. We've done all this stuff. We haven't really said we haven't necessarily do anything, but we've implied we're onto it. And all these people have contributed over this 10-year period to say, wait a minute, we've already told you what we know. What do you do here? So for me, how we go forward is we need to go through extraordinary lengths to acknowledge the input from all of these people. To say, look, we've heard you. now we've heard you all, the problem's quite big and we've got to take a holistic view and look at it. And so what we're trying to do now is actually look at the district, and then we have to prioritise, because Buffalo Beach or Front Beach or any other beach may not be the #1 priority. There may be somewhere else in our district that needs the focus of attention. So how we sell this to these volunteers and community groups is critical. It's like we come in for an awful amount of criticism by having meeting after meeting after meeting and, you know, wearing our bloody teeth down to the gums and nothing happening. So Amon, you know, he's been in part of that and seen the brunt of that. But all I can just say is somehow, I don't know what the uptake's been for the volunteers to come onto the respective groups. But we need to say, you know, we've heard you, we've got all that stuff, but you know, the problem isn't only Buffalo Beach, or it isn't only, it's a district-wide problem. And we need to take the helicopter lot and to calm that down, because that's the bit we haven't done well. People are still out there saying, I've been talking to you boneheads for 10 years and nothing's happened, and you want to have another meeting. And so people just give up after a while. So I'm just saying the difficulty engaging with people is how long it's taken us to engage again.
Welcome, Amon. Sorry,
comment
can I introduce
before,
him?
which
Yes.
is important. Firstly, I agree with what Tony has said, but at the meeting, there was difficulty in interpretation of why they were there, because it wasn't stated that the foreshore management plan was not in place of, was a new horizon, but everything that was already in place would stay there.
Still behind it.
Yeah. And people really didn't understand that. So apologies for our lack of comprehension at the time.
Hi, Amon, welcome.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. I think I missed an interesting dialogue there, but I'm happy to give an overview of the project if that's required, or just answer questions. Over to you.
Yeah, if you want to give us a brief overview, that would be really good, and then folks can ask questions if they've got them.
Sure. So Shoreline Management Plan project, as you probably know, is a district-wide project. It's significant in terms of money we're spending and in trying to work out what the hazards and risks are. It covers the whole district, which is challenging because you've got all these different communities and different coastal processes. To help with that, we've split it into 4 different compartments, and those compartments will be targeted or go alongside coastal panels. So you've got a coastal panel that we've proposed for Thames up to the Thames coast. You've got Coromandel all the way to Kennedy Bay and Mercury Bay, south of Kennedy Bay all the way down, not quite to Tairoa, and then you've got the southeast area. We're 1 year into a 3-year project, and the consultants are finalising their reports on hazards and risks and those types of things. So it won't be too far away that we're able to start to share some of those things with council and the community. So an important part of sharing that information and getting community understanding what's important to the community is the coastal panels. The coastal panels are made up of 10 to 12 people representing iwi, business interests, citizens, and also there are 2 places for community board members. So we think that gives us a good cross-section of interests, and ideally we'd like to receive nominations for 2 community board members. What we've done is made it specific to community board members but not to councillors. So it's councillors will get an opportunity to be part of the process when decisions need to be made about the plans, but we're leaving it open to community board members. Thus far, we've had pretty good level of inquiries and applications come through. So there's quite a bit of community interest across the district to be part of the coastal panels. Discussions with iwi have been quite good as well. So some of them are wanting to, or quite a few of them have indicated they want to be part of the process. So that's a good thing. That's probably enough from me. Any questions or comments?
Murray?
And one of the comments I've had from 2 or 3 people now is that is a concern more than anything that a lot of work that's been done in the past is actually being redone, that some of the past work is not being lifted it up and to save cost and time and effort and you know, costs are escalating because work is being redone rather than picking up stuff that's done before. You got any comment?
Yeah, I don't think that, yeah, I don't think that's, we're not pushing aside work that's been done and excluding it from our considerations. That the technical work that has been done does look at those things. It is a little bit different, I think, in terms of.
Can I ask you a very simple question? And my question is simply yes or no. The past work that has been done is being reviewed as a matter of course.
Yes.
Thank you. That's all I need to know. I can give an assurance.
Okay. Did anyone want to put their hands up to be on this? We have 2. Yes, Bill does. Yeah. Jeremy does. So, Dally wants to nominate them.
Oh, I nominate Bill and Jeremy to be on the.
Fantastic. Seconded by Tony. Brilliant. All those in favour?
Aye.
Opposed? Wonderful. So there you have it. You have your 2 Mercury Bay board members, Jeremy and Bill.
Fantastic. Bill and Jeremy, I look forward to working with you down the track.
Likewise. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Thanks, Amon.
Bye.
Right, okay. Item
Stop the time.
5.2, I think this is on page 295. Joan Gaskell Drive speed limit review.
Still there. Just.
Yeah, I'm with you, Tony. We're not going to settle down. Don't settle.
I'll move we receive the report so I can speak in Lodge.
Thank you. Thank you. Can I have a seconder? Jeremy, brilliant. Is it?
Mo's online.
Mo, hi. Oh, I did not know that.
Hi.
I know. Look at that. They just pop on in. Fantastic. Right.
Morning, Mo.
Welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and councillors. I'm working from home in Auckland, so I'm here online now. Glad to be here.
Right, okay. Did you want to start with some comment?
Okay. So the last time in this room that I raised this issue, well, I was advised in subsequent questions that we are waiting for a couple of reports, including the police and whatever. So my first question is, do we have that report? And if not, why not? Is that a question of Mo or a question of Alan? Or a question of whoever, I don't know, but do we have a police report supporting lowering the speed limit from 70 to 50 in Joan Gaskell Drive?
As far as I'm aware, the answer is no, Councillor Fox.
Have we asked the police for the report?
I need to do a little bit more research because I'm standing in for Matt, who's basically left. But I have done a bit of research on his report, and there are 2 options in terms of going forward. There is no impediment to stop council from reducing the speed limit. The NHTA rules are only a guideline. We've got 2 choices. We can take Joan Gaskell Drive on its own and do the district-wide review separately. So we will run 2 processes to review the speed limits, and we will incur 2 costs. The other option is we are in May, and we are only 1 month away from the end of the financial year. And the speed limit review for the entire district starts off in the new financial year, which is only about 2 months away. So we could weave John Gaskill into that and make it one consultation for the entire district and incur only one cost. Both options are possible. Approximate time duration for either option is about 12 months anyway, because we still need to notify, go through a bylaw process, consult, and do all of those things. So no one's saying no, it's just the process we choose is all what we need to decide on.
Okay, so if I just comment, when Joan Gaskell Drive went in, there was farmland on both sides of it, nothing. And so 70 kilometres an hour was fine. Could have been 100 kilometres an hour because there wasn't anything there. Now, over 50% of the southern side of Joan Gaskell Drive is built up, and it is significant. So if we go off Anita or Kume, significant housing and people and preschool and school, etc. On the other side of the road, significant commercial interests and big commercial interests. So we're talking about big box items now with 100% electrical. We're talking about the car wash, which is now taking trucks out of there, boats, truck and trailer units with big boats in this area. And it's ironic that you've got 50 kilometres an hour at the start of placemakers, and before you get to the drive to get out of it, it's 70. So I think for that road, the dynamic has changed markedly, and indeed there are other people who have done their work, including waterways. But what's happening now is there is further development to happen between where the car washes, where 100% of the gym is, and there's another big outfit going down there, and probably the garden centre, and that is going to require getting access to that site. And if it's 70 kilometres an hour, that involves the developer in one set of costs and one solution, and if it's 50, another one. So for me, I am exceedingly frustrated that this is a single road with an easily identifiable issues and indeed solution. And it makes no sense because it wouldn't be anywhere else on the planet 70 kilometres an hour driving through the area. So I appreciate the cost, but we've been asking for this now for years. There has been reports come to this council for years and nothing's been done about it. So I am of a mind to say I want Joan Gaskell dealt with as a matter of urgency so the developer on the 100% side can get on and do what he's got to do to apply to get the consent for the roadworks, which they may talk about a roundabout, to get in there. So I just ask we do that, because I tell you, if it goes out to consultation and we're looking at the district, I'll be sitting here this time next year and nothing would have been done.
I want to add to that. Reports have been done. We've seen independent reports, which I can't see why we can't pick up and use.
Well, that was my thing. We've been led to believe that there were only 2 reports to come back, one being police, one other one, and this would go through. We were led to believe that this would happen before the end of the financial year. So I'm in the camp, it goes on its own, we get it done. Because that's what we're led to believe it's been done.
I'd like to support what Tony said, because already we've got one road, no disconnection at any stage apart from a roundabout, and we've got two different speeds. It is ridiculous. So the 50k is already established, let's complete it.
Yeah, and my concern is the amount of, you talked about how much the residential housing is built up. The amount of people that are commuting, exercising, bikes, pedestrians along there is huge. Heading to the supermarket, the warehouse, it's huge. Delhi.
I think it's urgent. I agree with Tony, and I just want to flag for that next round the roundabouts and the fish factory and all
oh my word,
yes. Different speed limits. The roads coming off an aunt. Well, so what my concern is that if we go 50 all the way up to that road as a matter of urgency, we have to bear in mind that there is a bigger picture of all the converging speed limits onto that bypass road. So I just want to flag that in the back of everyone's minds.
Okay.
And raise it.
So they're gone.
Is Mo
That's
still
me,
there?
I'd like to have the.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Mo, I just couldn't see you.
Yeah, put that down.
Still
No,
here.
sorry.
That's okay.
I'd like this resolution amended, that we proceed with that with urgency, and it's a separate item, because
I'll second that.
That's why I was just putting that as the recommendation.
Yep, happy to implement that as the recommendation is made, that we will.
Absolutely.
and it's an
proceed to join-
indication
Yep,
of how long
yep,
it's going to
happy
take,
to support.
when we might have the Gazette notice in and the actual signage changed, because that might take a year too.
We'll order the 50 signs now.
These are what the new signs will look like.
Mo, did you have a time frame on that at all? If we were to start now, how long that would take?
The advice I have received this morning is 12 months, but I will go and look at it because there is one other alternative that we could do in the interim. We could put up a 50K sign like within the next 2 weeks or so and develop a temporary traffic management plan until the bylaw goes through. So we can get to 50 very quickly with some temporary arrangements if there is an urgency.
Excellent.
We can find a way
We
forward.
can't get caught for speeding, but we won't tell him on it.
If it comes February, it does.
If
Eight.
it's gazetted.
No, like they put temporary road signs, you're going to do that.
Okay.
Road,
Okay.
So it is.
So this new resolution, the point 2 here that Jen's just typing out, recommends
That council approve.
a speed limit reduction for Joan Gaskell Drive, separate to the regional speed management approach. Happy with that wording? All
Well,
those
council approved a temporary restriction and
Yeah.
continue.
With his new things.
Oh, we can add a temporary one.
Okay, recommends council to.
The council will do that under legislation, with a temporary one, they can issue tickets and then they just buy it.
Okay.
So that's 10 weeks. So now let's the developer get on
Yeah.
with his plans to change the roading, because he's going to have to have a roundabout to get in to the site.
Yes. And let's rely on the independent third party paid for by other people
Correct.
reports that we have. Let's not reinvent the wheel and pay for more reports.
Should be no more force.
Shouldn't need.
Got every bit of information we ever needed, apart from the traffic count the other day.
Why would the police have duty?
Well, they wouldn't.
No, that's right. Slower, calmer traffic.
Tony, where does this 50 start from?
50 starts from when you turn,
Good Street.
if you're coming into
No,
town,
coming
right?
to town.
Off the bypass.
From that fire station.
No, it starts partway through. You go into placemakers, you're at 50.
Yep.
You come out of placemakers, you're at 70.
Yeah, no, I understand that part. I'm just saying how
If you're
far.
coming from the airfield, you turn right, and it's right in front of
The
you.
bike,
Yeah, come-
Yeah.
yeah.
So all the way down.
which is 80.
Okay.
Correct.
Right. So how are we doing?
Do we, what about, putting in the exact location if you want to?
So Joe Jackson Drive.
Just, yeah, because it ends at the bypass.
All of Joe
Yeah.
Jackson Drive.
No, just, we do need to get that clear. So we're talking from where it currently changes from 50 to
70.
70.
Correct.
How far down the other way? You wanting to go all the way to the
All the way.
state highway?
Correct. When you turn off State Highway, it's 50, because now you're in a built-up area.
Because you only go that little bit, and then you got Benita, and all that built up, so you've only got about 400 metres.
And you've got the petrol station, you've got people coming in and out of there.
You gotta be
As long as we're clear, I just want to make sure we're clear. That's all.
Well, I just say Joan Gaskell Drive, it's 50 kilometres now on Joan Gaskell Drive.
Okay.
And Joan Gaskell's
love
not
racing.
around that station, right?
You just use the
How about that, Jim? For the full length of Joan Gaskell Drive?
Yes.
Yes, that's the whole length from Gaskell
separate to
Drive.
the regional
Yes, that's
speed. Right.
They were told it would take 2 weeks, by the way, so I'd like a time frame around it, so when I come back here next time it's done. Because it hasn't been done for 10 years.
I did put it through.
If it doesn't, we'll be pouring water over before the workshop.
Are we
Okay.
achieving anything? Are we going to make a move?
Sorry, yeah, I was just making sure that the typing was all done and we were at,
The boys were having a rave. I was just,
Do I need
we've
to
actually
put this?
resolved this.
yes.
Cool.
So we can't approve it until it's finalised up on the board there.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, is everyone happy with that wording? Recommends council approve a temporary emergency speed.
Yep.
Janet, okay. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Fantastic. Thank you, Mo.
Now,
Tony is going to hold you to your 2-week time frame. Just
now
heads
can
up.
we please write to Tara Corley
And the waterways.
and the waterways to say we've had this meeting and that was the resolution that's passed, so they know that we've actually actioned something?
Peter Abrahamson and Tara Crawley, please.
Because the Corleys, they will definitely want to go and get that for their traffic engineering, which they pay for to get people in to do something commercially, because we're being so tired.
Okay, all right, this is taking us to, thank you. Will you do that, Heather? Is that noted?
Can I please make a suggestion to the resolution?
Yeah.
We just passed the resolution, but yes.
Just in terms of the wording, I think if I may suggest, it should say that council recommends, council approve a temporary and permanent. The word permanent speed reduction should be somewhere in that sentence.
Okay.
Temporary and urgent, permanent. Between urgent and speed, there should be a word permanent.
Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mo.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. Stay safe. Thank you.
We will.
Thanks.
Bye. Bye.
All right, page 297, item 6.1, which is the proposed road name for hot developments in Hotwater Beach, Tapuia Place. Isn't it beautiful? All those, oh, sorry, a mover and a seconder for the report. Thank you, Delhi. Seconded by Jeremy. All those in favour?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Fantastic. Carried. Right, item 7.1.
Move.
Moved. Okay, I need to talk to
I
this.
haven't even got it on the screen.
I need to talk to this. I had a phone call last night.
Jean's just, we need to wait for Jean to catch up.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right, and I got, Knott and Lomas, is that correct?
Yes, that's
Thank you.
correct.
Sorry, that was,
We're just getting into our stride now. We're moving very fast.
and we'll just, this.
Okay, so sorry, this was moved by Tony.
No.
Sorry.
I'm happy to be the figures.
I'll second it.
Okay, Tony, right.
And then speak.
So last night, yes, I had a phone call from Mark DeLue, who's the Chief Fire Officer out at Whangapoa. He has some concerns with this report. He'd only just managed to get his hands on a copy yesterday afternoon. I asked him to come to the public forum, but he was unable to attend due to work commitments. He feels that what the recommendation states is not actually what he has been discussing with council, and they're not happy with what is proposed here. He feels that in the conversations that he had had with council, the first part is the part of extending the land to include a new exit staircase is okay, and that was going to have boat storage underneath. Now, I understand that Fens is paying to refurb the building part here, but he's saying the surrendering of the lease over lot 2, which has 19 years left on it, they don't want to do that. His understanding was that council was going to pay for the boat storage to come in under those steps there. There is a shortfall in costs of about $17,000 somewhere. Sorry. Oh,
I was sticking through the.
no, that's okay. There is a shortfall of about $17,000 there, which they aren't able to pick up. The Volunteer Fire Brigade, Fens isn't able to cover. Council was supposed to cover. There's some real unclear issues here. So what he would like, and what I think might make a bit of sense, is that council staff and the Whangapoa Volunteer Fire Force, Mark, comes together, sits down, and we get some clarity on this issue.
Okay, well, let's just receive it. Tony and I moved and received it, and then do we let it lie on the table, move it lie on the table?
Yes.
I think that's the best thing to do, given your phone call.
Absolutely.
You can make any decision at all.
I need to comment.
Do you want to comment? Do you have any background?
Yeah, it's news to me, as far as I'm aware, that the agreement's all been sorted, so the 17,000 is part of the budget that we have allocated for the rebuilding of the reserve, of the redoing the playground and the reserve area there, and the installation of a new toilet, which is all in the current year's annual plan, which is proposed to be continued into next year's annual plan, and that involves the relinquishing of that lease, and that budget, that capital budget that we have, paying that 17,000 to rehouse the IRB underneath the steps. So as far as I'm aware, that's all in order and on track. So this could be passed to achieve that. So.
Well, the Chief Fire Officer didn't seem to think that that was the case. He's been trying to have meetings with Andrew Hartley, but that hasn't come to fruition. And his understanding was that this is not. So I don't know whether this could just be, we leave this on the table?
If I just suggest you add on the end, subject to final agreement being entered into with the volunteer brigade.
Leave it to staff.
Yeah. If we can just delegate it to, or press revert in a way that the chief executive be authorised to finalise all necessary arrangement with the fire brigade, with the fire force. We'll sort that.
Following variations of the lease. Right, okay, well, he's adamant that they don't want to surrender that lease unless this work and what council have said that they will do will come to the party and do.
So if we're to get into too much detail, we need to get into public excluded, but it will be sorted with staff. There's no issues.
So we need to delegate that to staff and say we'll approve it subject to working out the final details.
We've got a clause on the end that the chief executive be authorised to resolve we don't
get involved in
to finally resolve all matters of the volunteer fire brigade, then it'll be sorted.
Okay.
Or what we're doing. So there's no issues.
Well, he seems to think there's a big shortfall of cash to get the work done.
He's wrong.
We don't.
Yeah, and I don't want to pass something that then is going to, yeah. And I feel for some of these folks, 2 days notice to get their hands on the minutes and find out what's coming up. Sorry, they can't clear their agendas and get here. Recommends that the chief executive be delegated to work through this item with relevant parties.
To finalise all necessary arrangements.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't get time to catch up with you on that. It happened last night.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
With the volunteer fire brigade, whatever they call it.
With the, yeah, Whangapoa
voluntary
volunteer.
fire source.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, with those changes to the recommendation, all those in favour?
Aye.
Opposed? There being none, carried. Okay, that takes us to item 8.1, which is our members' reports. Would you like to start?
I shall start. I was sitting there thinking one day, and yes, I know, and it's in my head. And I was thinking about that White Street section which we have for sale. And I was thinking about Steve Whiting's impassioned request for us to explore some land that might be available for him to fundraise and construct a sheltered home situation. And I talked to Alan, sent an email to Alan to investigate whether or not that might be a possibility. I don't know, because it may need a resource consent or change of use or some such thing. Is there any feedback on that, Alan?
I can
Heather followed it up.
I can give you some details. Let me just find that for you. Just wait a minute.
I'll carry on. I've already mentioned the erosion, White Street, moving south from that little bit of reserve. I think I've already mentioned the misinformation around town about Thames-Coromandel stream being the smell being the result of a major sewage spill. And reiterate that I think that we have to choose some of these issues to actually have some comms around them. And also the water storage. Have we sent a letter of congratulations to the Hahe Memorial Wall people for the magnificent job they did with their beautiful stone wall? because they sort of drove that project themselves. And I mean, personally, I've flicked them an email and said I just think it's magnificent and well done. But and we will be getting apparently an invitation to an official opening at some stage. So that's me, Heather. White Street.
White Street. So John Mustin, as you know, is our property person. He came back and said that the corner 137C Albert Street is a recreation reserve owned by council. And under this classification, use of the land for independent living, housing and care is not permitted under the Reserves Act. So if the community board supported a proposal to use the land for the independent living system, then to enable this outcome, the board and the council can initiate a change in reserve classification for the recreation reserve to local purpose. A change in classification requires a public process whereby the proposal is advertised, objections called and considered by the board and council. If the council decision then is to proceed, they make a request to the Minister of Conservation to consider that, and the Minister of Conservation makes the final decision, because that's under the Reserves Act.
Can I just clarify here, the one that I was looking at was the triangular one that is actually being sold as a residential section?
Okay, I was talking about the reserve on the corner.
No, I was talking about the one that I thought was council selling, that triangular.
So they've been sold.
It's been sold as
All
well.
the ones that we were selling.
Oh, then maybe it's
Yeah.
been resold.
Adoptable there.
Yeah, it's long since. So I'm
So
talking
that's the
about
second
the
time round it's been sold.
reserve.
Okay.
And then basically you'd have to make it a local purpose reserve, and even then it's saying the use of reserve land for a living is stretching the legitimate use of local purpose reserve, because that would usually be things like kindergarten, Scout Den, St John's, community
So
things,
following
but
on
they
from
can.
that, could it be used for a community garden?
I would have to ask that question separately about whether or not it could be.
Which is non-permanent, just simply growing vegetables.
That's right. I mean, this is talking about specifically independent living, so
Yeah,
that's
I
a
don't see why
whole,
not. That's
whole
what I'm
new
saying.
conversation. So if the assisted living people, when they put in their first request to us, they identified 3 portions of land. We actually talked about this White Street bit in our conversation, but their request was for other bits of land. So I guess we could go back to them and say, do you want to pursue this? In which case we'd need to get something specific to that property. But there is a long process, and it does come down to the minister to make
And there will be
that
costs
decision.
involved to achieve it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't think it's a simple process. It says time-wise at best 5 months, 12 months is more realistic. And you could go through that process and then potentially
So
it's still.
we'd be better off buying them sections somewhere, pretty much.
If that was considered to be council business.
Well, that's what I'm not having that debate, I'm just saying that in comparison, buying a section if it was our business would be easier.
There's still a nice piece of land in Robinson Road. That's quite a long, skinny section.
The one where the walkway starts, yeah.
I think that
Still reasonably
that was
close to-
one of the ones that was mentioned at the board level as well. So basically, any reserve has to go through a process to be a local purpose reserve to have that. So if it's not already, it would need to become that, and then the Minister of Conservation would still have to make.
Because that was one of the ones that we sort of glanced at when we were looking at selling council assets.
Yes.
So I don't know why the Minister of Conservation would be.
It's under the Reserves Act.
Okay.
And I guess it depends too on the classification of the reserve under the Reserves Act.
Can I ask a question that Heather might know, please?
Yes.
So when we had the land down where the Social Services Trust is, that is reserve land too, isn't it? And that reserve land, we put the buildings on, but the proviso, the buildings had to be on piles, because they had to be.
So they had to be removable, yeah.
That was a way we found to get round the requirements.
Yes, and
Now,
I'm not
following
sure
on
what we did
that,
from
could
that.
you put a dwelling on piles down here to get round that? Because we did put those on piles.
You still have to go through
I know,
some kind of formal process to, under the Reserves Act, to allow for that to even happen there.
Well, we didn't even do anything under the reserve Act. We just made a decision with this community board and said this is the way we can get around it, and did it. Because it is still classified as reserve, and they are really removable buildings.
If it's local purpose.
If it's local
reserve,
purpose reserve, that might have been
type of use,
different.
community
Yeah.
use like that is not a permanent.
So this is not.
It's not a permanent.
This one
residential
is a recreation reserve as
Sorry,
opposed to a
that's why
local
I asked you the
purpose.
question.
Yeah, so that one up there might have been a local purpose
Yeah, I
reserve,
think it was.
making the
I think it
process a
was.
bit easier. Yeah.
You're right.
So it's the classification that has to get changed.
Just so everyone understands, so if you're changing the local purpose reserve purpose, all that takes is a council to make it. So you still have to publicly notify and call for objections for a period of a month, but council can make that decision because we own the land.
Yeah.
It's still subject to the Reserves Act, but we can make a decision in relation.
But for us to change this one from recreation
No,
reserve
I've forgotten that out.
to local purpose is what needs the minister input.
That social services might have some space for a community garden. They've got a lot of green space.
They have got a garden out the back anyway, and
Have
I was thinking that Cheryl Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
that's the new manager there, she is actively looking at getting the garden that they started back up and running. So I'm wondering about just joining those two people up. As a,
Awesome.
Jeremy, oh, sorry, thank you. I sensed you were done.
I don't really have a whole heap to report. Obviously, we've been in a lockdown period. I guess I was pleased to see that we're going to look at the commercial concessions. I think it's a positive step forward even for the operators. I think as a town, it's going to be a tough period. We rely heavily on tourism, so I think as a council and community board, anything we can do to generate events, whatever it may be. So I don't know where the summer concert is at, but things like that, we need to be making sure those types of events come back to our town, and also pushing new events. So anything we can do, I believe that we need to be doing the community board to encourage events coming here, I guess, domestic tourism, all the things that go with it, because it's going to have quite a big effect on our town for a long period of time.
Absolutely.
That's it, really.
Okay, thank you. Bill? What have you got there?
Oh, dear.
Piece of paper.
It came pre-prepared.
It's upside down. Right. I want to go back in time because the public meeting that many of us attended about the water, and I just want to make some comments about that. Right. And this was the precursor to the re-establishment of a ratepayers association, and this was combined with the water report, which we all know about. I thought that it was somewhat shambolic, but never mind, that's just my view. Bruce, I think that you stood up and gave them the truth, which they were clearly, many people clearly unwilling to receive, but we knew that. But more about the establishment of the Ratepayers Association later. Right. Just an update too. This is not a community board matter, but council does support the community patrol, and we are currently in negotiation with Maharam, who seem to have something like about 40 people who want to set up a community patrol up there, which is fine. So I just mentioned that in passing because they may well either form an independent group or become part of us, which we recommend. Yeah. Right. At another meeting, which did establish the Ratepayers Association, again, it was shambolic, never mind. And I've had a subsequent meeting with Alan on this because there was representation from Waikato Regional Council, Russell Remington, who was on television just the other night, Dennis Tegg, and I do not believe that either of those gentlemen did us any favours at all. They were very critical of what we're trying to do and suggested that we were incompetent. I'm talking about the community good. Yes. For example, Russell said that if the present situation had been predicted, TCDC could have sought changes to the consent and the problem would not exist. Well, my problem with that is that they set the maximum levels of uptake and we were already there or beyond. So what could we have achieved? Now, he said this publicly, and I cannot believe that I kept my mouth shut. Because we don't have friends that I thought we did. Forrest and Bird were equally anti us taking up anymore, but right. What else? Yes. Comment is there, I felt that Waikato Regional Council's presence at this meeting was less than helpful. Never mind. What else happened? I also attended a WRC meeting in Tairua. This is a few weeks ago. This is all about foreshore management, etc. Excellent meeting. I went to the Tairua one because it conflicted with the Whitianga meeting, so they're happy with what they're doing there. What else happened? Oh, a phone call from Noel Hewlett talking about sewage management, the lack of sewage management. And
Sorry.
Yeah, good news is that he's now been in contact with people who know what the truth is about that. And I see that he's trying to re-establish a unitary authority, according to last week's.
I hold a letter to the editor.
So good on him. Right. Another one which was a failure, I had a phone call from a Cook's Bench resident complaining about mismanagement or lack of management with green waste. And I asked him very politely if he wouldn't mind sending me something in writing so I could get it on the table so we could talk about it, so I could get back to him afterwards, and I'm still waiting. Don't know, I've forgotten his name because he's rattling on, never mind. And finally, this is something I have absolutely no concept of. I've also been approached by a guy who is talking about us creating a water warehouse. And I have absolutely no concept of what a water warehouse is. So I throw that at you because it might be something of interest, but I promise you, Bruce, that the minute I get some information that will be sent to you, but I have no idea what it is. Right. I also am very conscious of a number of letters on the Herald about the 7-year wait that Waikato Regional Council still has to pass their Hawkins resource consent application for pulling more water out of the river. I'm finding that boring. There's something going on I just don't understand. Anyway, apart from that, I've come out of lockdown and I've had my first beer at the club and I didn't die.
That's a win.
I thought so too. That's me. I'm done.
Thanks, Bill. Fantastic.
If you want some notes,
Thank you.
you're very welcome.
Take that.
You have to be very careful how you translate it.
Murray.
Mine will be short and sweet. At the last meeting before Christmas at council, I presented a petition on behalf of the residents at this end of the 309 road, asking for more police surveillance. After chasing that up with staff twice, it has now finally gone to the area commander. The area commander is instructing the Whitianga police to spend more surveillance up on the 309 road.
Brilliant.
So I just hand that back. As an adjunct to that, I would like sometime in the near future to get the sergeant here to a meeting, because I believe over the whole of the Coromandel area, and I think here, I don't know, I hear all the time comments about lack of police presence and all the rest of it, so I just hand that.
Sorry, Mary, just before we go on, is that something we could organise for our next workshop?
Do you know if I can speak to that?
Yeah, if I can remember, because it's been so long, there was quite a few staffing changes. One went overseas, and so that was the reason why they hadn't done it. But I am on the mission, it's on our action.
Just something we can do when we get to it, yeah. The other thing
Sorry,
that's not,
Brian's got something to add.
Yeah, we've had John Kelly's replacement start in the next few months.
oh, okay.
Anderson, so I'm meeting with him. He's in Tonga. Once he arrives in the country, I'll probably meet with them and more than happy to
Yeah,
see if we can get that here as well. Different to the local sergeant, which you would have your own pool for, but I think higher up would be good to get them.
absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Brian.
Sorry, carry on.
Actually, talking about, just digress for a minute.
Just a minute.
My little, are we recording? I'll talk to that. Just let's not leave sight of Freedom Campers on the main beach. We talked about getting those ones down by the public toilets off. The other thing I don't want to be forgotten is I talked in January about calling a public meeting about rubbish. Still want to do that. Still very keen to do that, but felt we've had a number of other issues. Because I believe we as a community board, you know, we've come out 1 and 2 recycling. I still don't know how many people will get that, but I still think we've got to come out and I'd be very happy to push a public meeting where we look at the whole thing about supply into the supply chain and what we do with it and all the rest of it. So I'm still very keen to do that. Haven't forgotten it, but want to do that sooner than later. But I think let's get through and we can have some public meetings and do that.
Okay, thank you. Tony.
Righto. Well, I raised as part of correspondence this issue about water. So when I see a letter and reply, say we've got 30 years supply, I think we need to publish that. Because it's the misinformation out there where people keep saying, oh, yeah, you've got these other consents being approved, and people don't understand that before we actually issue a consent, we actually have to have the services to support that. So that doesn't matter whether it's drinking water, wastewater, stormwater, or what it is. We have to have that capacity. So it's there. We just haven't articulated that because it comes up time and time again. But what disturbed me is then it says, but you can, as a permitted activity, water your garden. Now, I don't know of one single person in Woodianga that actually knows that. So, yeah, at some stage I want clarity. Is that true or is it not true? And if it's not true, we need to go and fix it because the water issue is not going away. Now, I'd asked for reports and I haven't seen them. But I want an update. I want to know what has been the rainfall over this period of time. I want to know what the water level is. I want to know what the flow level is. I want to know what the treatment is. I want to know what the storage is. I want to know how much is being used. So I can sit and make a valued judgment when someone rings me up and talks something to me that they don't understand, and clearly so I don't, as much as I try to. So I think
Can we ask Bruce to?
I think it's the sort of stuff that we need to get out is one for Mercury Bay. 1 day of water storage costs what? Now my understanding is 1 day for every day costs $1 million to store it. We start at that point. Then we can say how many days do you want? Because if you said you want 90 days, that's $90 million, and we still never had enough water because the problem was no rain. And that's $90 million for Indiana to give you, that's if those numbers of mine are roughly right, but we've got 11 water treatment plants. Everyone wants to have water storage. We need that picture out so people can understand when they say, oh, we've done nothing, we sit on our hands, we don't understand the dynamics. We understand it, right? What we understand is also the cost and the cost of the ratepayer if you actually want that. The other bit for me is then is, so the rating impact on every town you do this in, for every day, what is the impact on your rates? When they work out that the rates become unaffordable every 3 months, then that discussion might change. And I don't know where we are with alternative supplies. So I see there's a dam reinstated. That's different than building a new dam. So no dam's built for 60 years. We're not going to get one. And the consent process is 10 years. Tell people that's what it is. You may not like the news you're going to get because they just think to go up the hills and get some wood and cement and build a tank and let the rain fall into it. Well, it would be empty right now, just like Auckland is. And it's not a case of sticking a bore in the ground, because the water that comes out of it is either going to be drinkable or treatable. But somehow we need to do better at how we communicate that to our communities. And the other question I have on that, since the conversation's gone, what is the arrangement for people to use the water commercially? So if you are a garden centre or the like, can you use it? If you are making ice and taking water out of the system, you don't, if it's metered, that's okay, because they pay to take it. But what are the arrangements? Because I haven't heard that. So yeah, enough about water, but we have to do better in that space.
Can we ask? Do you want to make a comment? Sorry to interrupt your members of the board, but I think it would be nice to hear some answers to some of this.
Yeah, I can try and jump through, and all good questions, so happy to answer those. On that email that went out, firstly, from Greg Roach, it's the first time I've seen that, so I need to follow up with him. I don't know if that is correct. I wasn't involved in that, and again, I'm a little bit removed from that, so I leave it to the water services team to manage that stuff on the ground floor and email the customers and deal with it. But yeah, I'm not aware of that about watering gardens is allowed under the restrictions. So what we did do is we moved a little while ago, I think it was in March sometime, to alternate days for Whitianga, so that people could water their gardens on alternate days with the hose.
Just be careful, it was very specific of vegetable gardens.
Vegetable gardens, yeah. Right. So I don't know if we've actually published anything that specifically talks about vegetable gardens and saying it's fine to go and water vegetable gardens. So I need to close the loop with Greg and just see exactly what he was thinking, what he was talking about then, and see if there's something that's happened behind the scenes that I might not be aware of. The other thing is he's noted in his email that we're fined for 30 years peak water use in Whitianga. We're probably okay volume-wise. The consent has the consent limit, and peak water use often doesn't actually increase a lot. If you look at the graphs for Whitianga, it's the normally resident which is coming up. Peak is a very high peak, but we're not necessarily going to keep seeing that peak go higher. We're going to see the peak will remain the same, maybe a little higher, and the permanent residents will come up. Yes. However, what I would say is that obviously with this dry summer that we've had, whilst we've got enough consent volume, if we're actually, one of our conditions is we can't take water once the stream drops below a certain level, doesn't matter what our consent volume is, that overrides that, which therefore means that possibly we won't have enough even for this year, let alone in 30 years. So there's a level of detail there that we need to be clear on, and we need to make sure that we're actually answering the questions properly. So again, I'll have to close the loop with the water services team on that information, and I can catch up with Greg on that and make sure that we've got the accurate information.
And can you come back to us and close the loop and make sure what Greg does or we do, so that there's clarity?
So those two questions are pretty key.
Yeah, because that went to a gardening group.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I wasn't. That was the first time I saw it. So I'll follow up with that and I'll come back to the board definitely.
Thank you.
On that. Water figures. I did email some stuff through to you, Tony, this month, which I don't know if you saw that. There was a little graph and stuff with some figures. Didn't have rainfall on there, but what it basically showed is we've taken around about the same amount of water that we took this season that we took last season. So the demand's roughly the same, but it's got the river level in there, and you'll see the river level hit a much lower level much earlier. So last year, the graph's got like a line on which shows the minimum level that the river can get to, and if we go below that, we shouldn't be drawing water. What happened last year was the graph of the river level, it only basically just touched that low level in April and then came back up after that. We went into that in January below the low level and carried on dropping below it. We've stayed below it the whole time, and I don't even know if we've got out of it yet, but what we do is some gauging to double check that. So the summer we've just gone through was exceedingly dry, and you're seeing that in Auckland obviously with the stuff that's going on there. Now I'm not going to say we're never going to get it again and it was a one-off and so we can all relax. But we just cross our fingers and hope that we don't get that situation again this summer. But what I would say is it's not a trend as such yet. We've had 1 year. Prior to that, we haven't had any issues. We've actually managed fine with our consent. We've managed fine with the volumes that we've got. But what it does do is it throws up some concerns that we need to be making sure we are looking at this, and that we are working forward on contingency plans and options for a town like Whitianga, which is growing. So that's what I'd say about that. Commercial use. So if they're going through a meter and they're using it for the business, that's fine. What I would say though is that We don't commit to provide water to anyone for 100% of the time. So if we've got issues around our water supply, whether we have a break or an outage, obviously that's not our issue. We do the best we can to manage that. But if a business needs 100% supply all the time, then they need to have business continuity insurance to manage that side of things. And I know that might sound a little bit harsh, but we're a council. We can only provide water a certain percentage of the time, and we'll never guarantee 100%. We get very, very close to it if you look at the number of times through a year that we actually have outages. But the other thing is that water restrictions, a lot of those things are actually fed into our consents with the regional council as well. So we need to make sure we're doing the right thing around restrictions. So there is a bit of a, if you're running a business and it's a business that uses a lot of water, you do have to be aware of that and aware of the limitations and aware of the changing situation. And you need to have your own measures in place. The last thing I noted on here was communications, and I think, as we talked about, we can always do better with our communications and making sure that we're being clear with what we're communicating, and look at ways of, we haven't definitely haven't cracked this yet, look at ways of communicating in a nice, succinct way, using as many graphics as we can, and just trying to get that out there and make sure that surfaces to the top, because we have a lot of comms going out. We need to make sure the critical stuff around water supply and rubbish and recycling, make sure that's actually jumping to the top, because those are the key things that people are interested in, and making sure that we're using the full range of channels rather than focusing too much on one or two of the channels.
Okay.
It's probably one or two other queries in there that I missed, but happy to answer any more questions.
Can I just make a comment to what, and I really want to pick up Dali's point.
Yeah.
Because I think our comms have actually slipped a bit, and that's probably not going to be fair. But we're putting out airy-fairy stuff. We're not putting out some real good facts that people understand. And it's wishy-washy, and we could improve that hugely by doing what Tony says. Tell them what it costs. Tell them some things there, because people understand that. Yeah. Airy-fairy stuff, it doesn't wash. Second thing is, in terms of council reserves, parks, the trees we've lost around the place, and yet there's an abundance of water from the wastewater plant.
Yeah.
Was that just not getting onto it early enough, or?
No, so they did utilise.
I know they used some, but they had a 1,000 litre Telecom tank with some guy running down, which I saw, and I thought, well,
it's not going to really.
Not going to do it, and it didn't do it.
Some businesses also ask permission to use recycled wastewater.
So that issue is quite fraught. You have to be really careful with that, because the issue is that we really need to maintain control of that treated wastewater. We can't be just letting people use it unrestrained, but for our use and for a managed use by businesses, that's fine. For our use, I'm not a.
Can it just be looked at for next year if we get
totally,
it? So someone's got a contingency.
Yeah, what I would say is
this year it wasn't.
I'd rely on the Parks and Reserves guys to guide me on whether they have enough volume. Like I'm not the best at growing trees and.
No, I just like someone to look at a contingency plan and some gear to do it, because I looked at it and I looked down by the airfield and I said, this is never going to work.
Well, but just so you know that there was more than one, I think it was about 3 utes with those tanks on the back that are going out to other parts of the bay as well.
The volume wasn't going on, it was going to do the job, that's what I mean.
It wasn't just one, there was only 3 of them. That
There's stuff going on.
Yeah.
Just so I know. So I'm very clear that our thing is, we haven't got a water crisis because we can all turn the tap on and eat and drink and wash and look after sanitation and have stuff left over. So what's the crisis? Crisis is when you've got nothing. Is that the national standard? So for everyone has a water treatment plant across the board, no matter what council you're in, the priority is to have drinking water and sanitation and not lawns and gardens. So it's not enough. So again, the story we tell has to be across the whole of the country. We are no different. Every local authority treats water for sanitation reasons. We don't treat it for lawns and gardens. As much as we love our lawns and gardens, and no one more than me when it comes to lawns. So that's the bit we haven't had out to say, no crisis. Every council in New Zealand, don't pick on PCDC. We are the same as the other 70 plus in New Zealand. Yeah, I leave that up there. Jungle Drive I've mentioned, and I am satisfied with that. Mother Brown, so I had more phone calls last night and one this morning before I came here. So the diggers have been down there a lot. A lot. But what's being suggested to me is we're not shifting the sand far enough away. So we go down and dig it out
push it.
and leave it on the sides. The next bit of wind or rain or high sea picks it up and deposits it back where it came from. They're saying even if you only take it another 4 metres back and take it out of range of the tide and those things, that will help. But I'm getting rung every day about the stagnant water in Mother Brown, and I drive past there many times, and as often as the digger goes out, the thing fills up. So all I say is the sand keeps moving. We've been seeing an easterly cycle. It just washes straight back in there. I just don't know if we are actually going in there with them to remediate and keep the blimmin' drain open, or where we're just trying to get the water out of there for 10 minutes and come back. Penny Murray was on the radio today and she articulated exactly what's happening there in a very good way. But for me, I just am not certain that we're going about that the best way, and putting a digger in there seems to me every week doesn't seem very good to me.
The long reach digger was in there.
The long reach has been there since last night. So Jill Hines is one. She's got a Facebook post and the digger's working right outside her house.
I need to look into that. Alan will probably know a bit more about it, being local here. I need to look into that because it doesn't seem like a good use of resource having diggers in there every week either.
No.
But I understand if people don't want stagnant water. But if you've got easterlies, you know, you're basically fighting nature. Now I know it looks, and I don't know the situation definitely. I know what you're saying. When they move the sand and it's piled up either side, people go, well, it's just going to go straight back in, which may well happen. However, and maybe we need to do a trial with this. If you move the sand further away, sand still might come up from the easterly. So again, you know, we need to understand what we can achieve and what we can't achieve, and make sure that we're not just throwing good money after bad.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to.
Just to give you something here, for me, what I'd be doing myself, this is only me, I'd be picking up the people on this thing here, so I could name and tell you. You only get about 4 or 5 of them. Take them down there and say, this is what's happening and this is what we're doing. And you live here and you see it every day of your life. Can you just give us an update once a week to say how much is? Engage the people that are on there to be part of the solution. And if they ask to shift it down the beach half a mile, well, so be it. But what we're doing is piecemeal and only just
clearly not
frustrates
working.
The people, and rightfully it frustrates them. And it's not only in the easterlies, because the easterlies have only recently turned up. Mother Brown, through lack of rain, has been full of water and stagnant for 3 months, at least. So anyhow, now the helicopter consent, that's the next thing that turns up for the Project 141 Buffalo Beach Road. Now, frankly, I don't mind. All I'd like, so it comes back to something we've spoken about, when we had committees of council, and particularly a regulatory committee, something like that would have come through there. And some questions could have been asked, and we could have actually spoken to people. I do not want to see every single consent that goes through this place. It's not what I know about, and it's not what I can even do anything about. All I want to know is, we've got these, I don't know where you start, limited notified maybe? These ones are on the horizon. If you hear anything, these are the people to send the phone calls back to. So at least you know that these things are coming out of the woodwork. So that's gone on. In essence, I don't have a problem with the helicopter landing there. I don't have a problem with the helicopter landing anywhere. Doesn't worry me, but for some people it clearly does. So it's useful if the elected arm have a heads up to say this thing might come to you, and if it does, this is the person to go to and let them fix it. They don't expect us to understand the technical details of a consent. So for what that's worth, and then I see this thing said now that Hopper's consent, because the next comment came up, well, shit, the biggest developer here, he flies his helicopter in his house and the airport's even closer. And then I pick up something, oh, there's some work being done on that as well. Now, is there or isn't there? Because I think if someone rings Lee Hopper up and says you can't land your helicopter, there'll be a different reaction than me wanting to stick a little one on my front wall. So anyhow, we're speaking about Otama. the sub-regional pool, now I just keep raising that because it turns up in the most hidden ways that we here are all very clear that a sub-regional pool is absolutely dependent on external funding. And that has been well articulated in council that on the eastern seaboard, being Wāngatāa, I can't say Parapara, nor even I will in inverted commas, here in Coromandel, there is no appetite to have a rates increase for a pool in Thames, no matter what. But I can see what's happening there. The Thames pool needs replacing. They don't probably want to replace it with what they've got and put something better in. And if we're not very careful, we will be in it.
Sharing the load.
And so I just need to make sure that we are all, our eyes are wide open on that one. I mentioned the consents, and that's a committee, and that's another discussion we're probably going to have at council. Stormwater, another one, in the Lost Springs area. Now that's something, there's a bill coming our way. The water engineering there ain't up to scratch, and there's a lot of other things going on there, and there are questions asked about this often of us. Some stage we need to front up to that. I won't go on the sheriff block, we've got to it later, but that's the last thing I've bloody had, is we've got problems there now. So here we are going there to do what we're doing, so Greenstone can go in and the concert can go on. Well, I'd hate to think that I find out in December that something's gone wrong on that, because we don't have a committee of council that actually would ever raise it. Solid waste, I can only say, I went down there the first time that I could, only to get rid of glass, and it was seamless. I drove in, got rid of the glass and drove out. But I've had to go back with stuff to go into the landfill of late. I tell you, it's diabolical. And I feel for the people that are in there. I really do feel for them. So I don't know, we need a stake in the ground where we're going to have an upgraded facility so that people will tolerate what they've got, knowing that there's a solution
on the horizon. On
the flag will go up on this day and you will have what you want. But without that, and you could go on there with 3 lots of stuff and you've got to go through that circuit 3 times. And then when you're going back to pay, the people have been queued up halfway down the South Highway, don't want to let you back into the queue to go and weigh your car to pay. And you can be there half a day. And it's just people getting hot under the collar. It's, I don't know what more I can say about that. It's,
we'll pick that up at our workshop next week as well, and next workshop.
But that's it for me anyhow.
Okay, thank you. Just, yeah, sorry, you wanted to say something.
Just a very quick comment while we've got Bruce here too, is when we had our bus tour of the Northern Ward, what's his name from Coromandel?
John
and I both talked to Sandra about at least new builds having rainwater collection tanks. I mean, you've got to have rain to have rainwater collection anyway.
It makes sense.
But making that compulsory and even moving to a model where we retrofit, where people start to retrofit their own storage solutions. I mean, you know, with my UNESCO hat and environmental hat on from way back, kids at school are learning about water's a precious commodity and it's not a right, and that we waste it horrendously, and that we should be looking at other models of how we manage our own water usage. So I'd like to see something at council level, a discussion around at least new builds having water storage of some sort.
There's water past November.
The problem is it doesn't fix it.
Yeah.
Do you want everyone can have
fix it, but it's
30,000
still.
Do you want me to speak to that?
Yeah.
Or not?
Briefly, yes. Briefly.
Yes. There's nothing stopping anyone putting a water tank in.
Exactly.
So anyone can
There's
put a water
nothing
tank in.
encouraging anyone to put one in.
Well, I suppose
Yes,
the reason
there
is,
is, of course there is.
you only want to encourage people to do something if you're going to get some value out of it. Now, if the value is feel good that when it rains, you're not wasting water, it's going in a tank. That's okay if people are happy with that. But my concern is that we've been through a drought of 3 or 4 months, or what we call a drought in New Zealand. Those tanks would all be empty. So everyone who we've said, go and put a tank in, spend 5 or 7 grand to put a tank in.
8.
8, then suddenly they're empty, and suddenly then they're just all using water like everyone already is currently. So
Yeah.
they've had to spend the money on the tank.
They've got the option to purchase water though as well, don't they?
They
To fill
do,
that tank, because all those people that aren't on reticulated water do, don't they?
they do, and there's been a massive run on people trying to fill water tankers from our network, as you guys are well aware. Correct. And the problem has been, we've been trying to prioritise you guys, or everyone who's actually paying their rates to have water serviced, before we then start providing water, selling water to water tankers.
There's a counter argument to that, and you and I will discuss it one day, but I'm not going to discuss it.
We will. So all I'm saying is that as a one tool in the toolkit, yes, definitely. We've just got to be really careful about managing expectations, and we don't need people to believe that if they spend $8,000 on the water tank, problem solved, you know. Then when they run out of water, they say, man, you guys don't have enough water and you're fitting a water network. And we've said, well, we could have used the $8,000 that you paid to put in. If we pulled all those $8,000 and put those towards upgrading the water system and fitting, we actually would be able to supply with water now, but we can't, because we kind of put the eggs in the $8,000 water tank basket. So, you know.
I think there's an altruistic aspect to that, and if you look to Australia, which is a dry country, and we don't know with climate change whether or not we're going to become either wetter and drier. That just as a matter of course, people have flush tanks and they have systems for recycling their own grey water to water their garden. So I just think that as a global citizen, that is a responsibility, or there should be an encouragement, or through council, you can actually apply for a discount from this company. They're going to supply you a flush tank or whatever. I think it's an attitude towards water usage rather than a water tank wouldn't have got you through 90 days of no water. Obviously, but just in general, I'm using my water tank to water my vegetable garden rather than using the reticulated sanitary water, as you were talking about a moment ago. I think it's a paradigm shift.
I think
we need to encourage.
Agreed. There's a huge benefit of that, because we do need to change the way we think about water. As a country.
It's not right.
And it's changing, like you say, with the kids coming out of school and stuff, so it is changing.
They're learning,
that's why I say we need to have a range of options, that run across everything, tanks, grey water recycling where appropriate, water meters, leak reduction, source.
All of that.
All that stuff. So I'm totally on board with that. We are going to be redoing the water demand strategy. That needs to be redone. So we're going to be looking at that. So I think that's the time we really need to get into all that.
What's your time frame on looking at that?
I don't know. We did talk about it the other day. I'm just trying to think about what we said.
If I was being metered, I'd be putting a tank in to water my garden.
Absolutely.
The problem is that, just to jump in, the cost of water is very cheap. Once you put all the infrastructure in to produce water, is very cheap. So they did calculations, and if you use a water tank, if you put a water tank in, it takes you 39 years to pay it off on the saving of water. The water tank's not going to last 39 years. So the payback, you'll never save the money by putting a water tank in. So it's more around the altruistic stuff that we're talking about.
It's moral.
We just need to make sure people understand that.
Totally.
Big rush on water tanks and then go, oh man, it's only lasted 20 years. What's going on? We've still got 19 years to pay it off.
Okay, thank you.
It's a bit the same with solar panels on your roof too. If you're 65, 70, you're not going to pay the bloody thing back before you're 90.
Just the thought is that
they're not going to pass out.
it's a crazy thought, reticulating grey water.
No, it'd be unbelievably expensive, and it's huge risks to it. We've had recycled wastewater reticulated in a couple of places in Australia.
We haven't been together and this is a good conversation.
So there's a whole load of issues.
Okay, all right. Okay, we're just going to finish out our members' reports on the last one, so I'm going to go really, really quickly. Thank you. Sorry to stifle conversation. No, it's not you. It's not you. It's fine.
It's not you.
We're happy that you're here. It's right. So very, very quickly. Good to see you all back in post-COVID, and everyone made it, and that's fantastic. Just two things.
With some of you on the at-risk group.
Two things that are coming up, have been coming up to me since the end of lockdown, and that is a potential 30k speed limit on our main street. Now I know we've talked about this. I think that there's people are very happy to be in their cars and be out again. And the other thing that sits alongside that is some courtesy crossing signage someone is really going to get bowled over there unless we have some pedestrians give way to cars signage on those lovely little paved crossing areas, because there is still confusion, people darting out in front of cars and things like that. But I don't know what the appetite is for a 30k speed limit through the main street.
I mooted it and got shouted down, whereas Napier on its waterfront has a courtesy zone, which I understand is not enforceable, but everyone who drives down there drives at 40.
Right, okay.
40k courtesy zone is called. We have the ability to do that.
What, just to that Esplanade Main Street circuit?
Oh, quite a long way along Napier.
Anyway, I just bring it up. I think it's something that certainly the signage for the courtesy crossings, it's been some time now since we've had our main street, that needs to go in. There's still confusion about how they work. Just so you all know, I recently, alongside Alan, met with the chair of the newly established Whitianga Ratepayers. We had a good meeting, just talking about sort of how we operate and sort of sitting down regularly and touching base. So hopefully we'll do that again in August sometime, I think is where we left it. Rubbish and waste, Murray, I'm really excited. I think we need to get some rungs on the board, have this workshop and do something about this. We've been talking about it for a long time. I'm still really excited by what we saw in Raglan, and they've done some great things, and I just kept thinking the entire time we're in lockdown we could be doing so much more in this space.
And they will assist you with
Oh, they're fantastic people, yeah.
As well,
yes, exactly. Yeah, and so that's it for me. I've been up to a raft of other things and been speaking to lots of different people, but we've covered all of those things here in our conversations today. Can I have a mover and thank you, Tony, Murray, brilliant. Which takes us to our public excluded.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Thank you. So we need to stop recording?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I know.